So we had our follow-up re-inspection after our previously failed inspection. So stick around and find out how that all went. If you saw the last video, you know that we failed our first rough and electrical, plumbing, and framing inspection for the house. We are really racing against time to try to get it insulated before real winter hits here. We've had some cold nights, but it's kind of warmed up here lately. And we need to get it insulated as soon as possible. And again, we can't do that until all the electrical, plumbing, and framing has been inspected. The last inspection we had did not go so well. There's some things electrical wise that, it wasn't quite the way the inspector wanted it. There were some issues with the plywood roof sheathing running in the same direction as the purlins on the roof. We also had an issue with the trusses. The inspector wanted to see the drawings for the trusses to make sure everything was, engineered properly and that it was all gonna withstand, live load of snow and in the roof and all that kind of stuff. So I called our builder and I got the truss plans from the engineer all ready to go. I fixed a lot of the electrical that was going on. I went out to Home Depot because Lowe's didn't have it. I went to Home Depot and got these small rubber balls that inflate. They're like air bladders, and you fill them up with compressed air. They expand and create an airtight seal in your plumbing ventilation system, and then you can pour water in from the top and test it for leaks. So we got all that stuff, and then the inspector came back and we had even more issues. The number one thing that I guess I could have prevented, but I didn't really know, not having experience with these test fittings for the DWV testing in ventilation stacks, the little bladder ball things have a stem valve on it just like on a bike tire. And I thought that if I filled that up with air, I could take off the compressor or the pump and the air would remain inside and still keep a good seal inside the plumbing stack. That is not the case with these. I don't know. There's probably some other kinds out there that do hold air and pressure, but these kinds don't. So when the inspection came around, I filled it up with air and the air just went back out. So we couldn't test the plumbing ventilation stack. So that's kind of like strike one. The inspector wanted to talk over the plywood again, and I assured him that I talked with the builder, Conestoga Buildings, and they've been putting plywood up like that for years and years and years. That's how all their pole barns are built. And basically he had me climb the inside of the house and go up to the top inside of the roof and take a picture of like the ink stamp on the side of the plywood. And then he went out into his car with a big old thick book with specifications with the code and everything like that. And I was able to convince him after reading through the code that that plywood was rated correctly for those spans that they had put up there. So that's fine. We got that cleared off. He passed off on that. And that's really crucial, and I'll get back to that in a second. The biggest issue, I suppose, is that when he looked at the truss drawings, he saw a discrepancy. When he looked up, he was really, combing through those plans very obsessively, I'll say. And as he was looking through, he noticed that there was a 2x4 support up in the truss system that was not there. And he circled it on the plans, and unfortunately we're going to have that 2x4 support nailed up in there, up in the truss system, before I can pass my framing inspection. But yeah, so we failed our inspection again. One other thing that he mentioned on the inspection report that he emailed me after the fact, he said that my air exchange unit needs to be installed. Now, the reason we have an air exchange unit in our house is because we're doing spray foam insulation, complete envelope airtight house. And in order to make things work with that kind of a system, we have to have air being brought in, fresh air being brought in from the outside. So we have an air exchange unit that I'm going to mount up on the wall, and it has different ventilation, and I'll show you that when I do it. But he says that I need to have that installed. When the first time he came through, he said nothing about it. So I'm getting some mixed signals. It's getting a little frustrating, to not include that on the first report, but then include it on the second report. It feels to me, I know he's just trying to do his job, but it feels to me like he's just trying to find every little thing he can to complicate the process for me. Again, it's a little frustrating. He's doing his job. I'm just doing my job trying to make this house work and get things rolling. For the plumbing ventilation stack, I'm going to have to get a second air compressor so I can have both hoses hooked into both of the ball bladders in the sanitary cleanout tees, and then I can fill up the system and it should work. So I'm going to get that bracing added to the top after talking with the builder. Honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the ventilation unit, the air exchange unit. I don't think I should install it because I have to put insulation behind it, and it doesn't make sense for me to install it and then have to, you know what I mean? Like, I can't put insulation behind a large air unit that I have already installed. The good thing that comes out of all this, if I'm going to take away one good thing, is that the inspector that came out for the second time in a row did say that he saw no reason, after approving the plywood, he saw no reason that we couldn't start insulating the roof. So that's good, and we're going to take advantage of this time. We have Thanksgiving coming up. Our girls will be with my mother and father-in-law up in Maryland, and we're going to have the house open and we can start spraying. So we do have a busy week coming up. We are going to make progress this weekend, this holiday weekend. We're not going to be able to insulate the walls because we still have to get the plumbing stack approved, but we can start insulating the ceiling. So that's awesome. We're going to keep moving forward and just, making progress little by little as we go. So that is our update for now, and hopefully the following week we can have our third inspection, and hopefully that'll pass then. So thanks for following along with this. We appreciate everybody's kind words of motivation and encouragement. It's nice to have a support system out there of friends, family, and just general people on the internet like you guys out there that are just being supportive, and again, we really appreciate that. So until next time, thanks for checking in on our little mountain life.